Okay, so joining me on the show today is Alex Katz. First of all, Alex, thank you for coming on the show. How have you been doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you just want to start off, you're currently a pitcher in the Royals organization. If you just want to walk everybody through kind of introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you made your way to professional baseball.
Yes, I grew up on Long Island, New York. Went to high school out here, St. John's University. That's where I went to college. I was drafted as a junior, but still finished and got my degree. I was drafted in 2015 by the Chicago White Sox. Was there for a couple of years, traded, or then I played in the World Baseball Classic for Team Israel. Pitched well there, and shortly after was traded to the Orioles. Was there for a few years, and re-signed with the White Sox last year. Got released last day at camp, and then played a little independent ball last summer, and ended up needing surgery towards the end of last year. Signed with the Royals this past offseason, and currently with the Royals organization.
Fantastic. So the first thing I kind of want to touch on is I know you were hoping to be in the player pool. Unfortunately, you were not selected for the Royals 60-man player pool. So even before that and now, in quarantine, in a very weird situation, not having a normal baseball season, what has training looked like for you? Because you still are trying to stay in game shape, I would assume, and kind of stay with where you would normally be during a summer. So what has that kind of looked like for you in the last couple months?
Yeah, so the beginning of quarantine was more like an off season, normal off season, just lifting and throwing bullpens. But now that we're in the middle of the summer, the Royals, their throwing program that they give us includes more game like throwing. So throwing the hitters and throwing bullpens in between those live ABs. So just trying to build up our arms and our innings a little bit, simulate games as much as possible. And obviously, they gave us the opportunity to play in some games, and obviously we need to get permission from that. But, we're obviously doing the best we can in this situation that we're in.
So is that something that you're going to take advantage of? Are you going to play any independent ball this summer?
Possibly. I'm looking at what my options are right now, but obviously I would love to because I haven't pitched in a game since June of 2019.
Yeah.
I was in spring training for 2 weeks, but it was just bullpens and practices. I was about to throw to hitters and in games those few days that everything got postponed.
So I believe you also have a little bit of a side business, correct?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that because it's really cool.
Yeah, so it's called Stadium Custom Kicks, and basically it's a team of footwear artists, all located throughout the country. And, obviously we do mostly baseball cleats, a lot of Major League Baseball players, cleats, footwear. But, we work with pretty much any kind of footwear, any type of athlete, anyone really that wears shoes or cleats that wants cool designs put on them.
So what kind of got you going with that idea?
So up there, you can see the first pair that got me into it. It's kind of dark, but I was with the White Sox at the time, so we had to wear solid black cleats. Nothing really, cool looking. So when I got invited to play for Team Israel in the World Baseball Classic, I thought that was a perfect opportunity to get some cool looking cleats. And basically, the pair that was made for myself turned into a little side hobby. And now here we are a few years later, we have 12 artists working for us, and really just started as a joke. And I created an Instagram page, and never really blew up, but just through word of mouth and friends and teammates seeing my own cleats, and then their friends and teammates seeing their cleats, just through word of mouth and social media and networking. It has grown to a pretty successful business.
So I know the NFL and Major League Baseball are both pretty strict for the most part on what can be on cleats. So how do you work with that? And can you talk a little bit about like how all of that works with trying to make sure that the cleats are still personable to and have the design of what the athlete wants, but also fit all of the regulations that are involved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the players all know what the rules are. We know what the rules are. We tell the players, we remind them of the rules, and we do the best we can to follow the rules because, some of them are not very clear. A lot of the rules are dictated by each individual team because
Okay.
they're the ones making the final decision on whether their players allowed to wear them or not. Honestly, there's plenty of times where players want a design, but it's not legal for gameplay. But we can't really tell them, hey, we're not going to make this for you,
Yeah.
because we can't we can't decline a design. you know
Right.
that's not really our job. Our job is more to tell them what the rules are,
Yeah.
and if who knows, maybe that player wants to just wear them for practices or pregame. So we can't really tell a player what to do, but we do the best we can when it comes to stuff like that.
So who inside an organization, let's say a baseball player who's worn your cleat, they go out and they try to wear it during a game or they try to walk on the field with it. Who is it that would say no specifically to that player wearing those cleats during the game? Like, how does that work?
For most teams, it's the equipment guy, but for some teams, it's the assistant GM who's dealing with regulations for equipment and stuff like that. I believe I believe the commissioner's office will send out a warning to the
Okay.
player, like a notice. If that player gets a notice or keeps, does it defies the notice, doesn't keeps wearing that same illegal design, then I believe they could get fined. But it seems like the league is loosening up their restrictions a little bit, especially with all the the way you know with all the social reforms and
Yeah.
players speaking up, especially with the Black Lives Matter stuff. It seems like the league is allowing players to speak up and kind of represent who they are and represent something bigger than themselves. I think that's the way the league is heading, and that definitely ties into custom footwear because a lot of players want to represent themselves and other people on their shoes because obviously they can't alter their uniforms.
So who are some of the guys that you have made cleats for?
Yeah, I mean, there's around 750 major leaguers, maybe a little bit more. We, just since 2017, we've worked with over 240. So
Wow.
a good portion of players, a lot of big names in there, including Felix Hernandez, Adam Jones, Pete Alonso. We're working on a pair with him right now. So there's a lot of big names out there.
And then have you done any cleats with the NFL?
Yeah, I believe I'm not sure exactly how many players we worked with. I know for the Super Bowl this past year, we did 8 pairs for that
Okay.
game. Obviously, not as big as we are in baseball, but the goal is to keep growing in every sport.
So with that, are you interested in maybe moving to like shoes in the NBA or things like that as well?
Yeah, we've worked with some NBA players. The timing of it works perfectly. When baseball orders are slow, maybe basketball orders are a little bit bigger. We've done a bunch of college basketball in the last couple of years, team orders, which is always great. But,
Yeah.
I think NBA is one of the hardest leagues to get into, because, these guys have huge shoe deals and,
Right.
maybe some can't alter their footwear. So I think the biggest challenge or the toughest market to get into is NBA.
So have you always been interested in shoes? Because I know a lot of guys, especially in high school and stuff like that, like they love shoes, and especially, basketball players. I haven't seen it as much in baseball players, but especially basketball players. Like, as you said, I mean, we have the guys who have the big shoe deals. So they're really interested in, Jordans, Kobe's, LeBron's, things like that. So were you interested in shoes from a young age, or is this more of a new thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can see some of my shoes back there. That's probably 4 to 5% of it.
Oh my gosh.
I have a lot of shoes. You know, I would say, I've seen guys with much bigger collections.
Yeah.
I mean, not all my shoes are expensive shoes. A lot of them are just regular running shoes. But I just love shoes. I like artwork, and obviously, my number one passion is baseball. So you put it all together, and you know that's basically what I did there. And obviously being a pitcher, all I have is my glove and cleats. So,
Oh,
obviously ever since pro ball, even towards the back end of college, St. John's was a rolling school. So we got to, um, you know, customize our glove at, I think my junior year
okay.
was the first year they started customizing. Everything else was just stock gloves. So, as a pitcher, when we only have, you know, our glove and cleats, you want to do something cool with it. It's, being a position player, you have wristbands, batting gloves, shin
Right.
guards, helmets, sunglasses while you're playing. As a pitcher, you don't have all that swag. So, you have to step up your cleat and your glove game a little bit.
That's awesome. So, has it ever been hard to try to manage this growing business and being a professional baseball player at the same time?
For me, no, because I manage my time wisely.
Yeah.
Um, Baseball is my number one passion. My career is my main focus. So I know that I can't focus and practice baseball for 24 hours a day. There's a lot of
Yeah.
downtime. Maybe while some of my teammates are playing poker in the back of the bus or playing video games, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Everybody has their choices and their hobbies. This is just what I do. Spend a lot of my downtime doing.
So, with that, do you ever, it's kind of an odd question, but do you ever get teammates coming up to you be like, hey, you want to make me some free cleats? Like, you want to hook me up? Or do they all go through the normal channels with that?
Yeah, I mean, guys, I've definitely done a lot of work for my teammates. Can't really do free work, but I give them a really really good discount because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know, what if 20 teammates want to order? That could be months worth of work, and they understand. Everything is done by hand. If it was all done by a machine and you could get it done in a few minutes, no problem.
Yeah.
But I definitely give a big discount to friends and family and people that I'm close with that want to order.
So how, I mean, I know you might not be on the specific design side, but how does that work? I would assume you start with just a normal blank cleat and then you have the design. But I mean, how many design guys do you have? How does that process kind of work?
Yeah, so even though I'm not doing most of the painting,
Yeah.
I do paint when I'm home in the off season.
Okay.
Sometimes, obviously I spend a lot of time training for baseball and working on the business side of stadium custom kicks. So I don't have much time to paint, but I'd say maybe a couple pairs a month, or maybe sometimes maybe a little bit more than that. Um, when it comes to going over design and getting creative, I'd say that's one of my main jobs with Stadium Custom Kicks. A big part of it is talking to some of these players and coming up with a cool design. Because everybody has their own tastes. What one person likes might not be good for someone else. So I think I'm a pretty creative person, and I've been doing a pretty good job with that. I'm always looking up other designs, looking up
Yeah.
other artists, not even footwear artists, just regular artists. Following a lot of sneaker pages to try to come up with cool designs. Um, Obviously, artists are always copying each other's styles, but I try my best to maybe take bits and pieces from each artist that I like and put it together to create our own styles. But at the end of the day, freestyles are pretty popular where customers just they know what colors they want, but they don't know what design they want, or they don't care. They want us to surprise them. And like I said, those are super popular, and that allows our artists to use their imagination and come up with something pretty cool and unique. And I'm not in those situations. I'm not telling the artist what the customer wants, kind of letting them
Yeah.
use use their creative mind to come up with something. And we do have we have a few artists that don't really like the freestyles, and we have some artists that really enjoy the freestyles. Some because really everyone working for our company does this on the side. This is not
Yeah.
nobody's doing this full time, including myself. This is a side thing for everybody. So some artists work long schedules, but they really enjoy painting shoes and customizing cleats, and They don't really have time to think of a design, come up with a design. They'd rather be told a specific design to do and then get right to work on them.
Yeah. So with this growing side gig, what are you looking at in the next couple of years? Obviously, I know you would like to be in the major leagues as soon as possible. That's kind of given. But with this, with your company, what are some steps that you're looking to take in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, the main goal is just to be the go-to customizer for, every sport. Um, right now we do more custom baseball cleats than anybody out there. And obviously I'm not going to be satisfied with that. There's a huge world out there, and we haven't even tapped, 1% of it, so no matter how many customizers out there, there's a whole world out there. There's, nobody's really taking away orders from anyone else. If you work hard and you find your target market, there's so many kids and people playing sports all around the world, and we have done a lot of work for people in other countries. So we don't really limit ourselves, and it's cool to think about that because there's just so many possibilities out there, and I like to get creative with it and do something pretty unique.
And what I think is really cool is, like you said, especially for pitchers, we don't get, I mean, I've been a pitcher for 17 years, obviously not at your level, but I've been pitching for a long time. So, I mean, I know, like you said, you don't get the creative expression that you would in kind of your style when you're on the mound just because of all the regulations. I mean, I've gotten yelled at before, and I'm sure you have, for like the color of your undershirt and things like that, which is just ridiculous. So I love that you're giving the guys the ability to be creative with themselves. So, I mean, that's very cool. I love what you're doing there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. And, I think, everyone working for us really enjoys it. They work on some cool collaborations with companies and athletes. And, it's a fun side gig for everybody.
So, Alex, last question I have for you. I enjoy putting people on the spot. So, if we're looking at your college career, your professional career, pretty much your entire baseball career, and this doesn't have to do with just playing. This could also be with your shoe company. Pretty much anything. Give us an entertaining story or something along those lines that somebody might not be able to Google. So, whether that be an exciting game in your college days, or a story in the clubhouse from minor leagues with Kansas City, with Chicago, with the Orioles, something like that. Give us a story that is very memorable to you, that the people should know.
I remember pitching in the regionals. My junior year of college with St. John's. We won the biggest regular season and the biggest tournament that year. I believe we had 7 guys drafted that year.
Oh, wow.
And I pitched against Oklahoma State. I believe it was the opening game, and we beat them. And I believe we won the next one. I'm not sure if we were 2-1 or 2-0, but
Okay.
the second or third game, this was the semifinal in the regional. We were winning, and I was in the bullpen, and I ended up getting hot, to go into the game
Yeah.
multiple times. So I threw a lot of pitches in that bullpen. I was still, our head coach, Coach Blackmeyer, wanted me to start. We ended up winning that game, wanted me to start the next game. There was like a 20-minute, intermission, I guess, between the games. He wanted me to start that next game after, throwing a lot of warm-up pitches.
Yeah.
And, I'm a huge competitor, but, the last thing I want to do is, get hurt and end my career,
Right.
throwing 500 pitches. But, it was just one of those things. He said, "Hey, Alex, can you pitch?" To me, it's super memorable because in my mind, I wasn't sure what to say.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that guy that said no. No, I don't want to. But I didn't want to say yes right away. It was just, I was kind of put on the spot, just like this
Yeah.
question a little bit. But I ended up saying yes. I got this. I'm confident. Let's do this. Let's win. And I was pumped. I was ready to go. And I had a lot of adrenaline that game. probably more adrenaline than any other game in college. It was on ESPN and all that. And the team I was pitching against was Arkansas, and they had Andrew Benintendi
Oh my gosh.
on the team. I think he was hitting over 400, and he was going to win the Golden Spikes Award. I remember, I believe it was 0-0 going to the fifth inning. So, it was a pitcher's duel. I was throwing really well. And Andrew Benintendi was 0-3 against me. And he was the last batter I actually faced in college. I got him to pop up, and that ended my college career. I didn't come out for the next inning. But I remember it was first or second inning. I think I struck him out or he flew out. And I, obviously adrenaline was pumping high. And,
Yeah.
Guys were screaming, cheering on the bench. I remember going into the dugout and yelling, "This guy ain't Buster Posey," because Buster Posey was a Golden Spikes Award winner also. But the funny thing is that now, years later, looking back at it, Benintendi might end up being a better player than Buster Posey. So
Yeah.
I think it was just something that came out of my mouth without thinking, but it got the guys on our team going a little bit.
Well, that's really impressive because, like I said, I've been a pitcher, obviously not as impressive as you. But I understand people always look at pitch count, and I'm like, yes, but there are so many things that go into it before the game. So a guy could throw 100 pitches in the game, but like you said, you were getting hot multiple times in the game before. And those are like you're getting ready to go into game pitches. Those are not casual warming up before, like 2 or 3 hours before the game pitches. And so, I mean, that is very impressive to me that you were able to pull that off. Because, I mean, I think I would have had a very similar mindset. Like, I don't want to get hurt, but also this is a really big stage, and like, screw it, I'm gonna go pitch this because, I mean, clearly that was a big stage. You did very well, so you pulled it off. But yeah, I understand the kind of the process that you were going through in your mind because that's a hard thing to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you don't really play too many doubleheaders
Right.
in college, or at least at the college I went to. Maybe D2, D3, or some schools they play doubleheaders on weekends, so they don't have to play the Friday game and miss classes. But we didn't really play too many doubleheaders, so we really never had that issue of guys getting warm and then having to pitch the next game. So it was definitely an interesting situation. Obviously, I wish we won that game, but Arkansas just beat us, fairly, I guess,
Yeah.
in that game.
Well, that's a very cool story. I appreciate you having a story when I put you on the spot. Because some
Yeah,
people,
I'm not usually good with that kind of stuff.
well, you did very
Some
well.
people ask me what's the funniest story from baseball, and I feel like there's just so many you can't remember one in particular.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did a very good job. Sometimes I'll have people sit here they're like, can I sit here and think about it? I'm like, sure, it's a podcast. I can edit it. So I've
Yeah.
had people sit here and think about it for a little while. So props to you for being able to come up with that on the spot. And thank you very much for coming on the show, Alex. This has been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for having me.
Perfect.